So when my daughter was 6 and my son was 3, I went to a parenting group. Not for me, I was fine.
So our special guest today is Ifat. She is a parenting expert and a lecturer who works mostly with fathers. She's also the author of the book Parenting, a comedy of errors filled with good intention. You will see how she uses humor and how authentic she is when she talks about her own parenting journey, and you will also hear about the 5 elements and the effective method she developed and have helped thousands of parents around the world. Ifat holds a Ph.D. in law from the University of California, Berkeley, and her research examines the challenges of American and Israeli fathers in combining work and family. I hope you will find this fascinating episode as I did, so let's give the music its place and start. Welcome to the Playground Talks podcast, a podcast for busy parents who want to own their parenting style and develop a stronger sense of how to handle challenging situations. I am Tamia Friat, your host and a mother of 3. In this podcast, I will interview psychologists, practitioners, behavioral therapists, teachers, and other experts about topics that bother all of us as parents, so you can get both the parenting principles and practical aspects that resonate with you, give you confidence and joy. Good morning. It's actually afternoon. Good afternoon for you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's always interesting to understand how you pursue a lawyer career and then you switch to be a parenting coach.
Yeah, and even more than that, I went to the academia and pursued my Ph.D. and I worked so hard for it. I wrote it for several years and then I began teaching in several universities and I wrote papers. It was about fathers' challenges, the challenges to combine work and family. And I was sure I was, doing my thing and living my purpose. But when my daughter was 6 and my son was 3, I went to a parenting group. Not for me, I was fine. I thought I was fine. But I went with a good friend. It was a 10-session workshop. And I think it happened in the middle, like about the 5th session or something. I suddenly understood how little did I understand parenting and communication with kids and communication in general. And it was so mind-blowing and it was so extreme that I became obsessive about this issue. And all the books I had near my bed were legal books. And then everything changed into parenting books. And the more I dive in, the more I realized that parenting is not about kids, mind you. It's about parents. And it was really an aha moment that I really understood deeply what it means to be a parent. And we think that it's about disciplining or saying things to kids in order to educate them. But it's not that. It might be a small percentage of that in all the thing called parenting and education. But the big issue is working on ourselves. But not as a cliche, work on ourselves. No, it's in the deep, deep meaning of so many things like healing trauma and understanding our reactions and being curious about why did I say that? Why did I react like this? Why is my child behavior triggered me so much? It's not the child, children are children. They do think that children do. But it was so interesting for me to understand why did I react the way I reacted. And, the anger that most of us parents feel, I was intrigued by anger. Why was I so angry? Anger, it's not anger. It hides deeper pain. It's always pain and fear. And that still is my journey to understand myself. And now I'm a parenting coach and I tell parents, use your kids, use them in order to grow. And we can use our spouse. It's living the day to day with this mindset, which is the challenge. So every time I go shopping and someone passes me in the line or someone bugs me or I get triggered by something, I tell myself, that's the real test, And of course, it happens so much at home with our kids. So I use every experience now to learn more about myself. And I can tell you, it's been several years and I'm still just in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a never-ending process.
Never-ending process.
Well, that's what makes life so interesting. You can never be bored.
I want to be bored sometimes, don't you?
Well, it's a state of mind, but
Exactly. Until the next time someone bugs you. And we go back to our automatic reactions, which is fine. Part of the process is the self-compassion, is the self-talk of not saying to myself, you stupid, you work so hard on yourself and you lose it again. What's going on with you? No. Part of the process is the self-compassion with soft talk, like, this is what I tell myself. You're so funny. Look how you lost it. You're so funny. Why was it so triggering for you? Let's think about it. Let's do something nice for you. Maybe you need to eat better. Maybe you need to sleep better. Because I know that you and myself and other people, I know that you are good. We are good in our core. This is my belief. We see children, we see babies. They are born good. The problem is the messages, the society, the parents, the teachers, they all have their own baggage and they throw their baggage on their kids out of good intention. You spoke about my book, and the name is Parenting, a Comedy of Errors, but I didn't want to leave it like this. So, parenting, a comedy of errors filled with good intentions, because it all comes out of good intentions. The thing is that our kids, they don't get it when they're kids, right? It takes a while. It took me, I guess it took you as well, several decades to develop compassion towards our parents. And as a parent, I understand them now. I didn't understand them back then, but now as a parent and understanding it's so challenging, now I get their reactions. So it's all out of good intentions. But nevertheless, we need to work on communication skills and self-love.
You just made me think that maybe that's the reason why parents want to be grandparents, because then they get more compassion from their kids.
Yeah. Actually, I had several grandparents who read the book. They even buy my workshops and digital courses. And at the beginning, I was amazed, but then it made so much sense. First, they have more time. And then, they are older and they have the time to reflect, to make amends, to make the changes. I can say that my parents do it. They treat their grandchildren so differently than they treated me and my sister. Me and my sister, we fought a lot, and my parents, it drove them nuts. They didn't know what to do with that. I have a whole chapter about it. But now, when they see the grandchildren fight, they learn how to be empathetic, to show empathy, and also not to interfere. And I think that's the art of not interfering, the art of sometimes ignoring, the art of not doing a big fuss out of things. And it's so difficult for us parents, right? Because we're so reactive.
Yeah, so I'm getting that your approach towards sibling fights are just let them be and give them the time to settle things between themselves. Just don't interrupt them.
For the most part, yes.
And are there some sort of red signs that you think that we as a parent must interfere?
In general, in parenting, I think it's whatever you sense that there's life risk, it is dangerous. I can tell you that one of the few times I interfered between my kids is when they ran in the living room holding a tennis racket and wanted to hit each other. And at that point, I sensed that maybe it's too extreme. It was a few years ago. And this is when I said, all right, that's enough. But most of their fights it's just he yelled at her, she cursed him, or something like this. And I tell you the truth, when we go together and they behind me and they, if they're fighting, like bickering, I'm so happy that they communicate. I think that communication comes in so many forms. And even when they fight, it's communication, which is nice. And I learn from their fighting so much. I learn about their vocabulary, and I learn whether they feel jealous of each other. And I learn what each of them needs, because maybe something is missing for them. Maybe I need to give attention to one of them or both of them. Maybe my relationship with my husband these days is not good, so they sense the tense. And maybe I gave them the wrong modeling for communication. So it's not with blame that I'm asking myself these questions, but with curiosity. and with understanding that what can I do? What can I pass on to them? But in terms of love and attention, not punishment, it doesn't work. And sometimes, as I said a few minutes before, I just ignore it and it passes. Like they move in seconds from hating each other, and you can see it in their eyes. They really hate each other. You tell them you want ice cream or whatever. They in a second they change their dynamic. They change their feeling. These are kids. They change feelings and reactions like this. We adults still analyze and thinking and maybe even planning revenge, but they are not there. They fought, they moved on. So maybe we all need to just move on.
I
How
get
old are
that.
your kids?
My kids are 3, 8, and 11.
Wow, amazing ages and very, challenging. And you can see the difference in the development, right? It's all in the brain. So the 3-year-olds cannot do what the 8-year-old can. And it's so interesting to see the gap. On the one hand, I think that the 3-year-olds are even more developed than us because they live in the here and now. When they feel their feelings, you don't need to guess. When they're mad, they're mad. When they're happy, they're happy. And the basic pillars of my approach is acknowledging emotions. This is why I opened the business, because the thing that I told you that it was mind-blowing, it was like, oh my God, I didn't understand that the most important thing, and I still think this, the most important thing is acknowledging feelings, because when we express our feelings, it's like we express ourselves and also our kids. And our kids, they don't get it how mommy and daddy can be mad at them for being mad or for being jealous. It's just what they feel, what they felt at the moment. So being there, not being emotional ourselves, which is the challenge, but acknowledging the feeling and give it a name or offer a hug or something. That's the basic. And I tell you a secret, I'm extreme. I have this extreme method for the greatest parents that, I encourage my kids when they're crying, for example, I encourage them to cry more. So if my kid is jealous or frustrated for some reason and I offer a hug and he comes for a hug and then he is crying on my shoulder, I tell him, get it all out, cry some more. And I reach a point where my son says, all right, I'm fine. And I said, you need to cry some more. Don't hold it in your stomach. If you tell a kid, stop crying, they will show you the volume that they can reach. But if you say, yeah, it's so important to cry some more, cry. Not as a manipulation, really. And it's really, let it all out. Crying is genius. Let it all out. And then they say, well, I don't have it anymore. And the interesting thing is that they don't need to persuade you with their feelings because their feeling got acknowledged by you. So they don't need to do it again and again. And my interpretation is that kids that cry a lot, they ask something. They ask, I want your attention. I want you to acknowledge me. I want you to acknowledge what I feel. I want you to accept my feelings, which is to accept me in the deepest level. And if you don't do it, parent, you will get more and more and more. Our kids are very smart and they have so much time. It's not like us that we just want to, they have so much time.
Rush thing up.
Yeah. So they can cry so many times and for so long until they get what they need.
I got the part that you said that we as a parent needs to give a legit to the emotional state that our kids are experiencing and be present with them at this stage and let it be, other than pushing it and say, no, it's nothing.
Exactly. And it goes the same way between us adults. Let's say I would start this conversation with you when I'm sobbing. Terrible happened and I'm sobbing. And instead of just being with me and waiting for me to be ready to speak, let's say I had a fight with my friend and you can say, this is why you're crying. You're a bit hysterical, don't you think? You're a bit dramatic. You can talk to her. I think you overreact. I don't think I would be your friend anymore. But with our kids, it's so easy for us to just dismiss their feelings. But you know why? Good intentions. It's because of our frustration. Because as parents, I think we got the wrong manual. That our job is to make sure that our kids are happy all the time. And when we don't, when our kid is in pain, we feel that we are in pain or we suffer because of that, or it's our fault. So we try to stop it. But let's change the manual. It's not our job to make them happy. And if we want to make them happy, the way to happiness is let them be responsible, to get to know themselves, acknowledge their feelings. When you do that, there's a chance that you are going to raise happy kids. But by dismissing their feelings and criticizing them, you're not going to get it. And sometimes parents say to their kids, why are you so sad? You need to smile, be happy, and it doesn't work. When you say something to a kid or to an adult, be happy, why are you so sad? Not only will they not be happy, but they will feel that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. If you got criticized a lot and you're feeling we're dismissed, you will gonna have a lot of work. This is what I feel, just embracing yourself and trusting your own voice, I think, and trusting your own inner compass. And now as a parent, this is my job to make my kids trust their own inner voice, which means sometimes they won't listen to me, right? I can say something, they won't accept it, but I'm not dealing with authority and obedience. I want to be part of their decision-making process. As long as I'm part of the decision-making process, the decision is theirs. I can just be the coach. This is what I tell them. I can tell you what I think, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. And I stand behind it. And even if they disobey me, which I'm not their boss or whatever, and sometimes they disobey me and I'm happy because I know that they are going to pay the price for it. And by paying the price, you're going to really learn.
Yeah. There are things that you have to experience with your own legs.
Definitely.
Yeah. I do want to go back and talk about empathy, which is the first component of your elements in the method you developed. So let's talk about your method and the 5 elements.
Yeah, the 5 elements, actually, I built the elements, and when you put them together in Hebrew, it's courageous parenting. In English, I didn't do all the words for courageous because it's many letters. In Hebrew, it's only 5 letters, and empathy is the first one. And I think for me, it's basic. And then it's awareness. After empathy, awareness, and then creativity. Because we need to be so creative as parents, right? And the thing that you do with your kid when they are 3, it's not going to work when they're 4. You need to change the methods all the time. And we are very creative in our workplaces, in our daily lives. But with our kids, we think that it's just, you go there, you come here, don't do that. No, we need to be very creative with our kids because our kids are very smart. They're very sophisticated. The 4th element is humbleness. So I feel humbled by everything, and I feel humbled by my kids. And when I come to the communication with them humbled, I don't think that I know best all the time. Sometimes, of course, because we're older and we have more experience. But, there were instances that I was wrong. I was so into my own agenda, and I told them it should be this or that, and I was wrong. So being humble, modest, in the sense of not just, this is what I say and this is what I do because I know best. No. And the last thing is thankfulness, gratitude, being thankful. You can come home and see a mess, and it's all stories in our mind. You could tell yourself, oh my God, I'm the slave here. I need to do everything here. I just came back from work and they think that I'm going to clean after them, blah, 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 blah. And of course, you don't have to do anything. This is your decision whether to clean or not. And this is one story. But the other story is you can come home and say, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for having a home to come back to. And thank you for having kids who make a mess, because a mess is life, all right? Imagine if I were alone, which is also good, but I wouldn't have a mess. But since I chose to have kids, it was a decision I made. I chose to have kids. When you have kids, you have mess. What you do with this is your decision. But being thankful for your kids, for your family, for the decisions you made, you can change decisions, of course. You can change workplaces, spouses. You cannot change the fact that you had kids, though. But you can change many, many things. But if you are thankful for what you have, it's easier. And it's also easier said than done, right? Because we can feel thankful and still want more. And this is very normal. This is what happened to me. I'm thankful for everything, but I still want more. And at the beginning, I was like, what's wrong with me? I have everything. I'm so blessed. But part of, being human is the desire to progress, to grow. And we hold this tension together, being thankful and wanting more.
I'm sensing two things. So first is practicing gratitude actually serve us as parents, that it just help us accept and embrace the decision we make. And also it's a good modeling for our kids when we are expressing the gratitude and say, wow, I'm so happy I have you. And I'm so happy we even get to go to the pizza place when we feel like. So it's even the little things that we're being gratitude. And that's what positive psychology is all about, isn't it?
Right.
There is something that I want to go back and say. When you mentioned creativity, what came up to my mind was many times as parents, we set the boundaries, but then the option, when you say no, is being creative and give more options. And so that's for me what creativity is actually meaning. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, definitely. You're so right. And about the first point, it's mainly about the little things. We think we need big events. No, just going to the pizza place. And you don't need to tell your kids, you need to be grateful. This is not what I think. I think you need to say, we are so grateful for having the money, for having the time, for having each other to go to the pizza place. And, during the COVID times when things were closed, I was so appreciative of the things that were open. And I remember going we used to live in the Silicon Valley in California. And I remember going to the grocery store and it was half empty at the beginning, no toilet papers, for example. And I remember the feeling of being there and being thankful for the things that there are, that I'm able to buy food. Okay, not all the food. I don't need all the food. I need the food that I eat and that I can still buy it for my family. And also being grateful is how you approach things. For example, I'll tell you a story. I have two kids. Out of decision that two are enough. And at the beginning, when people ask me, why don't you have another kid? I would say things like, I had two C-sections. It's too dangerous. I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. And then I changed the response. And now when I'm asked, or a few years now, why don't you have more kids? And my answer is that I'm happy and I'm thankful for what I have. And that's true. I'm so happy with what I have. In the kids department, I don't want to grow, for example. I don't want more because I feel that there are so much more with these kids, right? They're growing, the teenage years is coming and I'm growing. So with kids, it's not about the quantity. For me, of course, there are so much things to do with just two, just quote unquote. And the most interesting thing happened when I say this, people are speechless. When you say to C-section and it starts a conversation, but it's not that dangerous. But when you say I'm happy with what I have, people don't know what to tell you.
Because you change it from being excused for not having more to that's what I want. I'm complete with having two kids, period.
Exactly. And who can argue with that? Only my mother-in-law can argue with that. And she does.
And there was something else that you said that I want to pause. You said about humbleness. And I really like the idea of saying, well, I am a parent, but I don't know everything. And my kid is a different human being than I am. So I'm using curiosity and giving them the room to express themselves. And I'm asking questions. What do you want to eat? When do you want to take the shower? And that's what I see as a humble. And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a thin line between asking questions and being assertive, which I am, and, asking questions and being like, yeah, do whatever you want. It's not this. We think binary, like it's either we insist on something or we just let them live their life freely. It's either or. It's not this, and the neither is like complete freedom. I am the leader of the house. I am the leader. No one gave me the title. I gave myself. I gave myself the title of being the leader of the house. And when I gave it to myself, I knew that there are so many obligations come with the title, as well as, rights and privileges. But when I'm happy with myself, with my boundaries, with my decisions, and I respect myself and my boundaries and my decisions, and everyone follows. And they didn't even notice that they follow because I don't tell them, you need to follow me. This is the creativity and the sophistication. I set the boundaries by my actions. This is a big thing because many parents are like victims. Why don't you listen to me? Why? Why do I have to say things so many times? This is, it's leaders don't speak like this. And you won't get any respect. And you probably won't get anything done as well. They might do something, the kids, once or twice, but not regularly. And you need to find yourself either begging or shouting or punishing or threatening. And leaders don't use this manipulation. They are bigger than that.
So what's actually your setting boundaries method?
What is my setting boundary method? It's very specific to the event and to the person. I don't think I can tell anyone how to set their own boundaries. I can just say that I think the boundaries are mine. I cannot set your boundaries. I cannot tell you, you need to do what I tell you. Well, I can say it, but I don't think you're going to respect me. If I complain or if I punish you, it's not really respect. It's respect out of fear. And I don't want my kids to be afraid, because at the end of the day, when something happens, when they're 16, 17, I want them to reach me, to call me, not to be afraid of my reaction. And I need to earn it. We need to earn the respect. Respect is not something that you request. You need to earn it. So I work on earning their respect by being respectful to myself and being respectful for my feelings, for my needs, being honest with what I need, with what I want. For example, if I want to go jogging, okay, and my kids say, you go jogging? You went yesterday. So you can say, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I will stay by your side or whatever. And you can say, oh, you need my help with homework? No problem. I will go jogging and then I'll help you. So first, it's me. It sounds selfish and I don't care, because the reason I take care of myself, at the end of the day, it's, of course, to feel good, but it makes me a better mom. It makes me a better partner. It makes me being able to sit with you now. I took a nap a few hours ago and I asked my kids to be quiet and they weren't. And I got it because they're kids. But then I asked and they tried. I slept. And sometimes I go to nap and I tell them, I'm going to nap for you. Because when I wake up, I'll be so much more happy and nice to be with, and I can help you with whatever you need. So they understand. And also, we respect each other in a sense that, the tiny things, like, for example, if my 13-year-old is in her room and the door is closed, I will never open the door without her permission. I will knock on the door. I will wait for her to say yes, and then I will go inside. So these are like minor things that we don't even think about, but they create the relationship and they create healthy boundaries. And she feels that she's being respectful. And when you feel respectful, you want to give back out of desire and out of your goodwill, not out of obligation. And also, I demand they need to clean the dishwasher. It's their job. And I don't really care if they do it like grumpily, as long as they do it. Again, the feelings are theirs, but the thing itself, it needs to be done. I don't care if you're happy about it. I don't, clean the house while singing sometimes. Most of the times, no, but we do it anyway, right? So this is a thin line between allowing everyone to feel whatever they feel, which is theirs, but also we need to do things. We need to, for example, we need to go to school. But my kid can say, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. So I tell him, I know, I see, I understand you. You'd rather be at home, huh? So yeah. And then he goes to school. It's so obvious, but he went to school with feeling that he was understood. It's not like, I don't want to go to school. What? You don't want to go to school? School is fun. What are you talking about? Wait until you get to work, blah, blah, blah. No. Yeah, I don't want to go to school. I understand. Yeah. And parents, it's difficult for them because they think that if they tell their kids, oh, you don't want to go to school, I understand, it means that they are homeschooling. No, the kids will do whatever you decide them to do. But let them feel whatever they feel and give them empathy for the feelings. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free.
So what I really got is that you're saying, in terms of setting boundaries, that you're not willing your kids to be operated by fear from you. So you are being a role model for setting your own boundaries and actually following your own method with being empathetic to yourself and your needs, being aware of your emotions and your needs, and then ask to fulfill those needs. And this is the way you are setting your own boundaries and respect to yourself. And that's what your kids actually is getting. is respecting yourself and the people around you.
That's correct. And imagine living with a person, a parent who respects themselves, who loves themselves, who loves each other. I work on the relationship with my spouse as well. And it got better and better, the more we understand how we need to respect ourselves. And he respects my freedom and my boundaries, and I respect his. I think I couldn't live with someone who doesn't accept my feelings or my needs or dismiss them. I couldn't live with someone like this. I probably divorce or something. But I think the secret is to feel free while also being married, which is what I feel. I'm free. I'm free to go to retreats or, to hang out here and there. No one is telling me, don't do this, don't go there. He will manage, and it goes both ways. Imagine our kids living in a house where their parents respect themselves and each other. What do kids need more, right? There are research behind it. When kids feel emotionally safe and when they are calm, emotionally calm, they can really use their cognitive brain. They can really use their intellect. But if they feel overwhelmed or very sad or very stressed or very worried, your ability to learn is impaired. So first, we need to work on our emotional well-being. And if we are fine in this, and it's a constant work, of course, then we are able to let our abilities come to life.
Yeah, I'm really getting that actually taking care of yourself and your needs is not being selfish. It just provide the foundation to grow and be creative and to be the best of you. Yeah, that's a cliche, but well.
Yeah, it's done, but it's work. It's work.
Yeah, I want to go back to the respect part, and let's take an example. If you have siblings that are calling names to each other, which is clearly not a respectful situation, how do you react to that?
That's a good question. Sometimes I don't react. Even to the harsh curses that they got outside, we don't curse, really. And sometimes I ignore it, and it depends on my mood. And sometimes I say, kids, please, we talk respectfully here. And I think the most important thing is not what I do, but the way I do it. For example, if I say it very impulsively and angrily, don't curse. I don't think it's coherent because you want to tell them to speak respectfully, but the way you say it, it's not respectful. You see what I'm saying? So you need to.
Yeah.
If you have something to say, it's not. There's another chapter in the book. It's not the what, it's the how. So when I'm working on being calm, and most of the time I manage to be calm at home, so I can tell them, kids, please, I ask you to speak respectfully. And sometimes they listen, sometimes they won't. But you know why they won't listen to me? Now I understand it. It's in terms of the brain, because when the emotional part is hit, like the emotional part is very, very intense, it's the prefrontal cortex, the logical part is shut down. Imagine road rage, right? Someone passed you and then you're like, I'll show you. You know that it's stupid. And maybe the one that sits next to you might tell you, calm down, it's not worth it. But you don't see straight. You just want the revenge. And with our kids on a minor level, hopefully, they are so mad at each other that even though they know that we don't curse and it's not okay, they don't care at the heat of the moment. And when I got it, I understand that it's so natural. It's so human. And part of my agenda is not requesting kids something that is beyond human abilities. Every behavior that I see, I saw it before. Every behavior that I see, every feeling that I see that they express, I've been there. I don't think that no one can surprise us at our age with a new feeling, right? We've been to anger and disappointment and frustration and jealousy. And so when I see it, that my kids express it, what do I want? Like, we gave birth to humans. Humans behave like humans. Why are we so surprised, right? Think about it. It's so logical. It's so logical that they will be mad, frustrated. Some parents tell me, well, my kids, they don't know how to lose. Well, we humans don't know how to lose. Like, you like to lose money? You enjoy when you lost your iPhone? Do you get happy? When you lost like $1,000 or when you lost in the stock market? You get mad. You get frustrated. Your kids, well, they don't lose $1,000. They lose the game. The reason is not important. The manifestation of feeling is important, and we can all relate. We can all relate to the feeling.
So I want to continue talking about respectful situation. What do you do when your kids are talking back to you?
What do you mean by talking back? Like you said something and they answer?
Yeah, you're asking something and they're either ignoring you or they would say, I'm not going to do it, period. And it's a bit of a power struggle, I would say. So
exactly. It's a power struggle. And what I realized is that when you are not part of the power struggle, there isn't any power struggle. We want to make the fire stop by adding fuel in a way that, I don't want to. What do you mean you don't want to do it? This is a power struggle, right? I don't want to do it. Interesting. Because you don't have the time or maybe later. No, I don't want to do it because I think it's his job, his brother, for example. All right, now we can have a discussion. It's not that, no, you're going to do it because I said so. You got into the power struggle. You made it big. And, we as parents, when our kids talk back, I don't need to talk back to their talk back. I'm the grown up. I can just neutralize it. I like to neutralize the impulsiveness. I don't want to add to the impulsiveness because what did I teach when I talk back to their talk back or I got into the power struggle? I'm not in any power struggle. I'm too busy for that, right? Power struggle requires so much energy. One mom told me after one of my lectures, I just realized being in a power struggle and not being in a power struggle requires energy. So I'd rather use the energy for neutralizing the power struggle. It's very human to be mad at someone who is mad at you. But the coolest thing ever, when someone is mad at you, your kid is mad at you, and you respond calmly, it's so cool. You see how the hot air balloon that they were, it's like, yeah, they answer you calmly because you set the tone. And, I set the tone at home. And if my kid talk back, for once, I know that they're probably hungry, which is a big thing about emotions. When we are hungry, we are unbearable. When we are hungry, we are very angry. So I know it about myself. I know it about my kids. Don't go into power struggles with hungry spouses and kids. From experience, I tell you this. But if they talk back and they're not hungry, I need to understand what's going on. Honestly, I will say that the talk back is so minimal at our house, but not because they change. It's because I changed. I don't talk like this. I don't being the boss of them or ignoring what they want. For example, I tell them, please organize the dishwasher so I can put new plates and putting new dishes there. It's my job and they need to organize it. Do you think that they do it on the spot? Of course not. But when I ask again, I don't do it angrily. I just ask again. And they ignore. That's fine. I wait for the momentum. But personally, I don't really care about the mess, so I can ignore it myself. But then when they want to eat something, when they want me to fix dinner, I say, sure, of course, I'll be happy to do it. But first, organize the dishwasher. Call me when it's done because we need fresh dishes in order to make dinner. So I use the momentum, and this is being sophisticated. And this is also part of delay gratification. One of the most important things we can teach our kids is to delay gratification, right? But as parents, we don't do it because we want things to happen now. Take your shoes. Take your shoes. I said, take your shoes. Take your shoes now. This is not a role modeling for delaying gratification. Okay. And then in response, you'll get, mom, come here, mom. So natural because this is how you taught them that when you want something, you need to demand it again and again and again. But if you model delaying gratification, you teach delaying gratification.
Mm-hmm. You being a role model for not expecting stuff to be done at the moment. Exactly. You give it some space. Exactly. And yeah, really good. With unloading dishes, I just have an agreement with my daughter that this is her job, that let's say by 5 o'clock that it needs to be done because around 5:30 we're getting ready for dinner. So we just set the expectation in terms of timing.
And does it happen? She does it?
Yeah.
And if she doesn't, like it's 5 and 2 minutes?
Yeah, so I can say, hey, Gilly, the dishes is still in the wash disher. What's your plan? Or what happened? Because I know she knows. So I'm just asking. And then sometimes she says, oh, mommy, I just forgot. And then she comes right down, or she says, I'm in the middle of something. Can I have 10 more minutes? And whatever. We're having a discussion.
Amazing. I love it. This is communication. She doesn't work for you. You don't work for her, even though sometimes we feel like this. But
going back to the servant state of mind.
Yeah, we're not anyone's slaves. And if I don't want to do something, I don't do it. When we see our kids are more independent and take responsibility when we are not there. That's the secret, right? I went for 3 days for a yoga retreat. And my husband told me that my daughter took responsibility, made them dinner.
How old is she?
She's 13. So she was in charge. I see it. When I'm home, she doesn't do these things because mommy's here, so she can do it. But when we are not there, we see we see the values that we gave them. And if we insert security and independent behavior, they have it. They not necessarily show it when you're there, but we can count on this, that the values that we give them are there. And I guess we will see when they're older. And maybe when they're parents.
That's for sure. Wow, Ifat, we got so much out of your method and so much out of your philosophy and actual tips of what to do and how to handle situation. It was so meaningful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for having me.
Thank you and have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I know you're busy, so thank you so much for joining me. On the show notes, you can see the website of Ifat, and so you can get more of her content, her online courses, and you can contact her. If you find it helpful, please share it with friends, family, or post it on your social media. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.